and welcome to Prime Time with Coach Kary, your fitness and well-being advisor for thePause. Today, I have the great pleasure of interviewing one of my, I'm not going to say the word oldest because that sounds bad, one of my longest and dearest fitness friends. Like, we've known each other for a long time, since like my late 20s. I guess I met you back in the fitness industry in Manitoba. So we went through the fitness industry in Manitoba together. We competed together. We helped each other out at different times. We followed in each other's footsteps at times. And I am just so excited to hear some of the answers to this, because even though we've been friends for such a long time, there are some things we've never talked about. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so shocked. But I also have a theory of why we didn't talk about it. Okay, so I'd like to introduce everybody to my dear friend, Shelly Paton. She's a certified Manitoba fitness council trainer and evaluator, and that's been like 35 years of her life. She is also a credentialed Canadian exercise and physiology personal trainer. She earned her IFBB Pro card in 2013, and that is no easy feat. You have to win the Canadian National Championships to do that. So we have a Canadian National Champion sitting with us today. And Shelly, my first question for you, you have been a lifelong fitness enthusiast. Like you've been doing this your whole life. From when you were a child, you were involved in sports, you were competing in things, and then it ended up being in fitness. Give us a little bit of history. Just tell us a little background about your involvement in sport and competition, and how that evolved over the years for you.
Well, Kary, it's such a pleasure to be with you today, even though we're in different cities, and it's nice to see your face, for sure. It's not quite girl time, but almost. No, it started out with dancing, and I twirled baton for many years. I actually didn't play many sports, especially competitively, but I did a lot of dancing, and baton twirling was a big one. I went to the World Baton Twirling Championships when I was 21. I was the oldest person on the team there. There seems to be a theme here. But anyways, so I started off with all of that. I was actually a little chunkier when I was little. My dad used to kind of call me pleasantly plump, and so I kind of got into like dance and things like that, to be, my parents would put me in skating and dancing to be more active and all of that kind of stuff and keep you out of trouble. But I started to take the dancing a little bit more seriously, and the baton twirling, and took that on I think I stopped around 23 doing that kind of stuff. But in the interim of that, I really was going to an aerobic studio that was local, and I could hardly pay for my rent, but I would always pay a drop-in fee. And finally, the lady at the front desk said, you should really buy a membership. And I said, well, I can't afford a membership. And at one time, so she says to me, well, I'll tell you what, we'll make a deal. So
I'm going to read her bio.
Did that. That was the one and only membership I ever bought. And then I loved aerobics so much. I thought, this is great. I can make money and, do something I love. So I went and got my Manitoba Fitness. And back then it was called MFLDA. So it's changed since then. But Manitoba Fitness, so I get certification so that I could teach safely and be certified and get insurance and all that fun stuff. And I have never bought a membership since.
Wow. And just remind me, so after all the competing, and I know we both were watching Manitoba bodybuilding competitions and we admired what was happening there. What was your first competition in physique sports?
It was 1999. It was the first time I competed in fitness, and you were the one who actually inspired me to do so. I think it was here at Assiniboine Athletic Club, where I'm now the manager. We were here, and you said something along the lines, you should really compete in fitness. And I said, well, I'm going to Mexico, so I'll talk to you in a couple weeks when I get back. And you put that seed in my head. And when I got back, I was like, you know what, let's see. And then I kind of consulted with you. You had already, I think, started, I can't remember if you'd done 1 or 2 shows, and I had seen it. But then, so I did my first fitness show in 1999, and then just kept on. I took a little bit of a break and then got back into it pretty seriously in 2010 with the intentions of just doing the Manitobans. They had a master's category, so that was the year that I won the master's Fitness and Miss Manitoba, as they used to call it back there, Miss Fitness Manitoba, and the overall. And I also won Best Routine, the one and only time I've ever won Best Routine in all the times, and just kind of did a clean sweep. And then that was when my coach at the time, which was Darren Mailing from Freak Fitness, he encouraged me to do the nationals. And I said, no, I don't want to do the nationals. It's too much. It's too much competing. And anyways, between him and Christina, they said, yeah, you're going to do the nationals. And then I just got the bug, I guess. I went to the nationals, and I think I only placed, my first time at the national, maybe it was like third or fifth. And then I want my pro card for some reason. There was just a switch there.
Yeah.
And by then, I believe by then you already had your pro card. So I'm sure there was also some motivation and inspiration coming from you at that time as well.
It was possible, right? It was one of my things, when I was competing, and then when I got that pro card, I just said, if anything, there will be people who look at me and say, if she can do it, I can do it. And then I know there was a whole slew of us, after me that got those pro cards. So Shelly, you started competing and you went into the pro ranks. Now, I'm going to shock everybody because I'm just going to slip your age in here before we go on to the next question. But Shelly, you just turned the big 6-0. Everybody's going, no way, no way.
It wasn't true. I got to look at my license. I don't think it's true.
Yeah.
No, I certainly don't. Certainly don't act it most times, but no, it is true. Yeah.
So this girl is 60 years young, and I mean, look at her, ladies. Like, check out those biceps and those delts. I was like, I hope Shelly's wearing her tank top, because we want to inspire people here at thePause. Like, we want people to see what's possible, what you can accomplish, what you can do. And that's where we're going to go with this conversation. But let's just flip into, because the group that I'm in, it's all about perimenopause and menopause, and just a community of women supporting each other, really hashing out what goes on. Now, my little theory is that if you're really fit, you exercise consistently, you eat well most of the time, the transition is not going to be as rough. Now, yes, I did have some things that I went through in perimenopause that I had to deal with. But I'm not on any HRT or anything. I'm just naturally managing. I've never dealt with the hot flashes or anything like that, or loss of sleep. Just some other little things that I've shared with the group before, but I truly believe that fit people probably have a bit of an easier time. And I don't want to say everybody, but what was your experience? Because you and I have never talked about that. And I thought maybe that's why we never talked about it, because we weren't suffering. Tell me, like, what was the age that you officially hit, like, that post-menopause, a year without a period? I don't even know.
Yeah, it was actually, and for me, probably maybe a bit later than some. I remember I was getting ready for a show in 2019. And I basically, like most women, I think almost a lot of the women I train anyways, even, when you're in your 30s and younger and all of that, and you're getting a regular period, oftentimes when your body fat goes so low towards the end, your periods become, if nothing, irregular, and some people lose it altogether. And I was very much one of those people that as soon as I got to about the, 3 months out from a show or 2 months out from a show, it would, or then it would lovely show up on the day of the show, but that's a whole other story. But usually that happens. So in 2019, I was getting ready for that show, and at the beginning of my prep, and the competition was right at the end of August. It was the Pittsburgh Masters and IFBB Pittsburgh Masters, and that was my first bikini show, and I right up to I got my period for the first part of that prep, and then I remember just not. My Fitbit can tell you exactly how many days it was since the last period. But we're into the 1,000 now. So and that was it. So it's 2025. That's 6
so
years.
Around 55, 54,
yeah.
55. Yeah, I was 55, and then last period was shortly after that, and now I can say postmenopausal. Yeah.
And I never had, and I didn't even.
I'm
going to
read her bio, and
they almost get like the little, okay, no, it's not. I'm not done, and then you get the the 2 month thing, whatever. But once I did that show, and that was it.
Wow,
and then
is
since then. And like you said too, I think probably one of the reasons we never talked about it is because fortunately for me, I wasn't one of those people that had a lot of symptoms.
Okay. Do you remember anything in particular that was annoying or different or had changed for you after?
Yeah, I think the one I noticed, there was a little bit of a period, probably 2 years into it kind of thing, where I was getting like some night sweats, but it wasn't crazy. Like I know people that have to change their sheets, where they have to change their clothes.
Yeah.
I got a little bit of that. I have really never had the hot flash thing. That's interesting. But I know, like, I mean, obviously I know, and I train a lot of people that it has happened and can be so disruptive. I'm a pretty good sleeper. So my sleep, but I'm also very active, and I'm also have a couple of jobs. So when I hit the hay, I'm good to watch TV for about 15, 20 minutes and then I'm done.
Right.
But I think that's just because I'm physically, and I think that's where when you say the activity and everything, being active, and it definitely helps, because if your body is tired, you're more apt to fall asleep. And I think that's even with just not even menopause, but people that have trouble sleeping anyways, even younger people or older people. I think if you're not physically tired, that then you lie there, and if your body's jittery, then your mind gets jittery too.
And that's a good distinction.
And starts thinking about
Yeah. Most people, I think, are mentally exhausted when they get home or at the end of the day. And then they say, I'm too tired to work out, but they haven't really physically exhausted themselves where they would get those benefits that you and I are used to getting and that we crave, right? Like, can you imagine going a couple months without working out? Like,
no.
No.
Well, no. And I know you might want to touch on this at some point too. I don't know if one thing I did ask my doctor about, and you're probably going to laugh at his answer, but when my hip started to bother me, I was getting a little bit more joint pain in general. Like nothing, like my hip was debilitating. That was like, that's a different osteoarthritis. I would have got that no matter what.
Right.
That's a different story. But there was a little bit of joint pain, which I was probably just passing on as, we're gym rats, right? A little bit of sore muscle back but I did mention it at one of my checkups with my doctor. And I did say, he asked me about menopause and, if I was experiencing. So when I said to him, Guy, I said, I don't think I'm really experiencing anything, except I did notice that my joints are a little bit more like creaky and a little bit more sore.
Yeah.
And his exact response, Kary, was like, most women complain about hot flashes and not being able to sleep. And then I was like, okay, if I'm gonna find out any information about joint pain or anything, I'm gonna have to do that research on my own, because this guy obviously is just dealing. Mood swings. That's what it was. Mood swings and hot flashes. And I was
Sylvia is
okay.
Okay, so you and I
younger. He's a lot younger.
Oh, can you imagine? It must be difficult for those young men to have those conversations. I feel sorry for them. We should have specialists for females. We just
exactly.
So you feel like me that exercise definitely.
For sure.
It is my saving grace. It is my church. It's my spiritual health, my mental health, my emotional health. Like, it covers all the bases. It will change my day in a flash if I'm not feeling well. Like, it's gotten me through some of the toughest times in my life. It's gotten me, it's been some of the happiest times in my life. So we know that we need it. We know that women in the prime time of life is what we like to say instead of the end of life. The prime time, we like to call it here at thePause. But we know it's important. I think most women know they should. What can you tell them for like going from nothing to something? Like, how could somebody get started? Do they have to be working out 3 hours a day? Like, you train women all the time. How do you see results from somebody who never starts? Like, let's motivate and inspire some people in the group here. What could they do to get started, and what would you advise them to do?
I think pick something you enjoy doing. Like, I just love going for a walk. It doesn't have to be a run. It doesn't have to be, in fact, I very seldom run it anymore. Not like I'll do some sprinting and stuff like that, but I never just go for like a 5-mile run. I don't do that anymore. I never did that a lot before, but I just love walking. And it clears your head. It's like what you're saying. It's like, So if you really enjoy doing something like that, or swimming here, I have a full aquatics area here. People come here and they do laps and they go in the steam room, and that's all they do. And I've seen people get results just from doing that. You don't have to spend an hour at the gym. Nobody ever said that. I guess trainers started training people. They started billing people for an hourly rate because it was easy to do. Here's an hour of my time. But you see a lot more in gyms. All the gyms I'm at here, I don't know, I'm sure Toronto is the same, or even more happening with that, but it's like a lot of 30-minute classes, 45-minute classes. I have clients that come and see me, several of them only for 45. They don't do the full hour. The full hour is, because by the time they drive here, get changed, it might be a time thing. It just might be like 45. You can do a lot if you keep the client in. You can do a lot. It's like 45 minutes. That's I'm sure for a busy mom like you and for myself, that's a gift. 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, even training at the level I did for this last show, I never spent probably, some of the leg workouts maybe a little over an hour, but most of my workouts were 45 minutes. Nice. When we're talking about just the weight part of it. Yeah. Just boom, 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 and I don't wear headphones. Lots of people wear headphones here, but, just find something you enjoy doing, whether it's like, I see a lot of people here doing, there's one lady here that hula hoops. You should see her. She's very talented. But she does hula hoop. She walks on the treadmill. There's another lady, just as I was coming to the office to do this, she's skipping. Pick something you like, bike ride, and it doesn't have to be that you come home and you feel like, you're sweating and it's so intense. Like, you don't want to do high intensity exercise every single day. Yeah. It's going to change it up. You might want to throw in 1 or 2 HIIT workouts a week, just that'll get people faster. But if you're talking about someone just starting out, I would say, simple, 2 to 3 times a week, and pick up some. Don't be afraid, ladies, to pick up some weight. Pick up some weight.
And the reason why Shelly looks the way she does, I'm going to tell you right now, it's because she eats very well most of the time, but she has fun too. She's real, but she lifts weights. And Shelly, you lift heavy weights, right? You pick up big dumbbells.
I do. I try to. And it's for sure. Doing the little 5-pound weights, that's nothing. Like, my purse, this, I tell you, weighs more than 5 pounds. And my gym bag, which is in my car at the moment, it's usually in here, my gym bag weighs like 20 pounds. So I'm carrying that. So for me to pick up 5-pound weights, that's not going to do anything for me.
No. How many days a week?
If you're just starting out, you might have to start out some exercises, some of the single joint exercises, like a side lateral raise or something. You might only start out with 5 or 3 pounds.
Right.
But, if you're doing like an overhead shoulder, like even most beginners, you can pick up an 8 or 10 pounds over the head, and then work your way up to,
How many times a week are you doing weight training at this point in life? You're age 60, you like to stay fit and lean. How many times a week do you weight train when you're not training for a competition, like right now?
Right now, because we enjoy going to the lake on the weekends, I try to do Monday to Friday weights. It doesn't always happen, but I would say for sure 4. Yeah. And then if I can get a 1 in, great. Sometimes that'll be on the weekend if it's raining or something like that. I do cardio almost every day. Okay. When I say I do cardio, it's not an hour, whatever, like it's 30 minutes. It might be walking on an incline on the treadmill. I'll throw in some HIIT stuff once in a while. I still teach some fitness classes, but the fitness industry here, it's changing a lot to a lot more weight training type classes. So I tend to do a lot more of those type of classes. The jumping and that kind of stuff, people don't want to do it. They get hurt. It's hard on the joints, and and I think ultimately, we find out that it's not necessary to get the results that people want. Cardio is good for your heart and your lungs. You have to be able to, you want to be able to keep up to the grandchildren and your children and all that kind of stuff. But, the research has said more and more that weights or resistance training, using bands, if you don't have weights, if you don't have access or money to go to a gym kind of a thing, or maybe you live rurally. I have clients online that are rural that'll put together, they'll send me pictures of what they do have and put together a program for them to do, and do it with, if you work shift work, you got to make it work in your shift. It doesn't have to be, same with the fasted cardio. That's kind of especially with us fitness buffs. I like doing cardio first thing in the morning just because then I know I'll do it. Because if I put it off later, it might not get done. And it's over and it's done. And if you get pretty sweaty, you can clean up. And then like today, this is, you know, after working out, this is after teaching a class and doing cardio this morning. So yeah. But like you said, we like to keep it real. We don't use filters and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's, you know, I like to do it first thing in the morning to get it over with, but not everybody has that, you know, privilege. They might, you know, if you're somebody who starts work at 7 in the morning, maybe you don't want to get up at 4:30 or 5 to do cardio and then get ready for work. So those people come afterwards. So, you know, you got to make it work. Yeah. But definitely, for me, and when I'm in training for a show, it's kind of 3 days on weights, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day
off. Weight training is king.
Yeah, I think so. That's, I would say that it's from my own personal experience, yes, and also from training, you know, quite a few athletes, definitely training lots of clients, but even the competitive athletes that I've taught, there's a big difference. And as you said, the diet is a big part.
We're gonna go there right away. We're gonna get into.
I don't like to use the word diet, but the nutrition aspect in anyone's regime, right?
Let's flip into nutrition, because I'm sure everybody seeing you here, knowing that you've recently turned 60, would love to hear, what does Shelly eat in an average day? Like not contest prep. We don't want to go, but like, what are you eating now? Because you're obviously maintaining a really nice lean physique you don't have a show coming up that I don't know about. Maybe, I don't know, but maybe you do.
No.
What are you eating now in an average day?
I am usually pretty good Monday to Friday, not quite as contest strict as you're saying, but I eat pretty much carbs and protein with each meal. Doesn't work for everybody, but I have tried, for myself, I've tried like keto type things, and that stuff doesn't work for me. And I think it's because of my activity level.
Yes.
And just because I've always, you know, so those things are kind of individualized, but basically, you know, I find the 6 meals was way too much for me. That started several years ago. I haven't eaten, so I eat 5 times a day most days unless I'm too busy but even then I'll grab a shake and I count that as a meal, right? On the weekends, I do let loose quite a bit. I enjoy some wine. Usually every Saturday, my husband and I will have wine.
I'm gonna read her bio, and
we have, you know, we might have wine and sushi or wine and nachos, like homemade nachos or whatever. And that's just what we kind of like to do. You know, if I'm going to have a cinnamon bun in the morning because I'm out for breakfast somewhere, then that's when I'll do it. But I am pretty Monday to Friday just because I am pretty busy. And if I don't bring it with me, I don't have time to stop anywhere and pick something up. I also find it's very expensive to stop.
So I follow you around for the day. And what foods am I seeing then? Monday to Friday, what foods am I going to see?
I'll do like oatmeal or cream of rice in the morning, and I just throw a scoop of protein powder on top of that. I will do a little bit of rice, ground chicken, and some green beans for lunch. I'll have a salad. Usually my mid-afternoon is a salad with some avocado and then maybe some kind of tuna or protein on top of that. You know, and then in the morning, one thing I've added in the last year or so is berries into my oatmeal every morning. And I did berries all the way, including right up to my day of my show, which I've never done before.
Nice.
So I kept that fruit in right up until, so that's nice. It was a nice treat. I know that sounds ridiculous for some people, but yeah, so a little bit of that. I don't tend to do a ton of smoothies.
But you do a protein shake mostly, probably, because it's hard to get the... I'm assuming you're aiming for over 100 grams at least. I know you weigh a little less than I do, but so you're aiming for around over 100, 120 grams a day.
Exactly. And and the protein, like right after your workout, like a protein shake is perfect right after your workout. You know, and then until you can get home and have your whatever else you're eating. But one of my main staples too is like just plain rice cakes, because I like stuff. So I'll do rice cakes and tuna.
You put nut butter on them ever? Like almond butter? Or,
almond butter, peanut. That's another, the nut butter. Like I'll do a lot of the just natural ground. I like the chunky, either almond or the peanut butter.
I put a dab of raw honey on top of that nut butter and rice cake, and it's like dessert.
I know. it's like that to me is like, I don't need like, I don't need a pizza or whatever. But on the weekends, we like to have
Yeah.
at least one sort of, I don't know,
Fun.
day or free, and sometimes it's more than just the one day, long weekends coming up, we'll be out at the lake. I'm sure there will be wine more than one. Usually we just do like, you know, Saturdays, but I have a feeling we're going to be out there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and
A
Monday.
long
So I'm sure
weekend.
there'll be at least two wine nights in there. Long weekend.
Awesome.
But then I'm back at, yeah. But in the old
Because you
days,
have
I
the
would beat myself up
consistency.
overdoing that.
Yeah, you have the consistency, so you have that
Exactly.
flexibility and freedom. And I mean, you and I are very similar. We go hard, we eat well most of the
Yeah.
time, but that's why we can have a bit of fun some of the time because it all
You have to.
balances.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's balanced.
Psychologically, I think you have to.
Yeah,
Yeah, balance.
yeah.
And
I'm going to read her
psychologically,
bio and
just you need that. Like, who wants to feel like they're constantly depriving themselves of something?
right. And if
You
you're
know,
looking
and
forward to
avocados, I would say avocados, you know,
yum,
and
yeah.
with the
Sylvia
avocado,
is
like I'll put that in my salad. Like that's what I was saying, like with smoothies, if I have a chance to eat my food, but I do probably at least for sure one scoop of protein powder, if not twice a day. I'll
yeah.
supplement my protein with that instead of like physical, because you also could get kind of tired or you run out of food. It's the end.
Or you're on the go, like after workout,
On the
like
go.
you said, the shake is the perfect. Or sometimes first thing in the morning, I prefer just to have a shake and then eat my solid foods throughout the day. Okay, let's get back to a little bit of fun stuff to end this off. So, just you recently celebrated a milestone birthday of turning 60. You had a hip replacement, and I mean, for a lot of people that's like, what, this girl had a hip replacement. You had a hip replacement, and after your hip replacement just a couple of months ago, like just before you turned 60, you got on stage. Now, not doing women's fitness where we do the high kicks and the push-ups, you and I both did that, but you competed in a physique competition in the category of bikini, which we do have some people in our group that have done that before or probably would like to do it. So after a hip replacement, you were almost 60 when you did it. You challenged yourself to get back on stage and you looked freaking incredible. Like, what was that like?
It was so fun. Like it's interesting because people see you and they see your body change and everybody's like, oh, you're going to go there and you're going to win. You're going to win. And it was never about that. And you know what the pros is like.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, you know exactly what that's like. Everybody up there looks fantastic and all of that. And it's, here's this girl from Canada, I haven't competed for 6 years. And then, the person, the person who just placed second, and this isn't why, I'm just saying, but she just got her pro card like, the previous show, but, and I'm in the States and, there wasn't a lot of Canadians. There's only one other Canadian in my category, or in my class. I think a lot of people maybe aren't traveling, but anyways, it was for me about the fact that, because when I found out that I needed a hip, I was like, why me? I'm active.
Yeah.
Most of the time, what the heck? Why me? And then the doctor just said, you have osteoarthritis. There's nothing, it's like, however it came about, whether it's because I've been jumping around for 35 years, whether it was related to my boat accident that I had when I was 18 years old.
Right.
We don't know. But regardless, it's there, it's done. But when it first happened, I thought, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? But I've done cartwheels since and all that. But I also knew that flipping is probably not such a great idea.
No.
And, so I decided, I'd switch categories. And also I wanted to be realistic. I didn't want to compete like in fitness. You and I competed against when I placed 5th in Vancouver, the person who won was 19 from England. Yeah. And then Rael was second, and Rael, so it was like that. And so that's why I sort of retired from that show, because I was like, I'm 5th. This is the best I'm ever going to do. I'm out of here. Like these, they were getting younger and younger. And so I wanted to do an age appropriate category. And unfortunately, the show that I wanted to do was 6 weeks before I turned 60. There was only one person in the 60 plus, and I actually placed higher than her. She did the 50 plus as well. And so if I would have won the 60. Could you imagine? I would have won a
Oh,
pro show. I would have won a pro show.
oh my God.
But,
Yeah, right? Oh my God. Yeah.
So,
Wow.
but for me,
Now you have to compete again.
I know. Well, that's
you look so good. You know, before I ask you just a final question or two, where can people see you? Because if they want, like, you need to go and look at this girl, her bikini shots. Like, oh my God. Where, like, is your Instagram the best place? Is that where you post the most?
Yeah, Instagram, mostly Shelly, lowercase pro, lowercase fit. And just interestingly enough, yesterday someone made up a fake account. I guess I should be flattered, but there is a fake account out there. I think it says IFBB Pro Shelly or something. That's not.
So your good account is Shelly Pro Fit. All one. There's no spaces or anything.
Yeah, Shelly, and then the lowercase, like a little slash, and then pro.
Oh, the underscore, the line.
Undercase. Yes, pardon me. Yeah. Yeah,
underscore. Okay. I will put it in the group. I will put it in the group. Yeah. Shelly _ profit. Yeah, because I see your posts all the time. I'll put it in the group. Okay, yeah. Shelly, before we say goodbye, what's the best advice you've ever had or seen? Give us something.
Yeah, well, as you know, my phone message, it's been my phone message for a bazillion years. Do what you've done, you'll get what you've always gotten. And it's true. You need to change things up. You need to, if something's not working for you, if you're not happy, and I think you can take that into other areas of your life as well, but like with fitness in particular. The other thing that I heard many years ago from a celebrity trainer, I can't remember which one, but you don't plateau, your program does. So, and I thought that was very profound. I thought that was one of the things. It's like, and it's true. And I try to use that with my clients. I change up my clients' programs quite a bit. I try to get them to mix up their cardio. You want to do things that are fun, but you also want to keep it, spontaneous, and you want to look forward to going to the gym. So if you're always doing something you hate just because someone told you should do 45 minutes on a step mill, like, I don't know if anybody's done 45 minutes on a step mill, but it's not. No. I have done it. It's not fun.
Oh my God.
And, it's like, like if you don't have a TV program to watch, you're pretty much hooped. But do things like for me, I would rather do 15 minutes on the stair climber, 15 minutes on elliptical, and then run around the track for 15 minutes. There's my 45. Nice. And you're going to burn your calories and all that kind of stuff. So I would say,
I'm going to read her bio and
change things up and find something that works for you. Same with the eating. What works for me is not going to work for the next person.
100%.
You got to do a lot of people get really good results from doing intermittent fasting. Mm-hmm. Some people get good results from doing, lower carb or keto type stuff. And some people, it's maybe higher carbs and or not higher carbs, but medium carbs and, an adequate amount of protein. I would think in all of those diets, though, an adequate amount of protein, what you were saying, like, if you want to maintain your muscle mass. And that's one thing that's really important as you get into, perimenopause and menopause is impact for your bones. Like, so even doing like 100 little jumps every day is going to give you some muscle pulling on the bone that's going to strengthen your bones. That's one of the things. And then, and just finding out something that works for you. Like, if something's not working for you, it's not because you're a failure, that you don't have the willpower to stick to something. It's maybe just not the right plan for you. Maybe you do need to try something different. And that kind of goes back to, if you do the same thing expecting a different result, it's silly. I think they call that stupidity.
And I always say to people, just doing new things in life keeps you alive, and that vital force inside you. You need change. You need to try new things. You need a challenge. And it's so inspiring to see you getting back up on a stage and competing before you turn 60. It's got my heart going, oh, maybe. No. Okay, before we say goodbye, Shelly, what's one of your favorite?
We need to get that on camera.
They're going to hold me to it.
Let's pick a place that we've never been that has a master's category bikini, and let's do it.
Oh my God. And you can do the 60 plus and I'll do the 50 plus.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go again. The last time we challenged each other, I said, Shelly, if you win your pro card, I'm going to compete again. And I did. Uh-oh. You guys heard it here first. Careful. Okay, before we say goodbye, what's one of the best moments in your lifetime fitness career? Something that just stands out to you as a favorite moment?
Earning my pro card for sure.
What did that feel like after all that? I want this so bad. And how many years? It took a few years to get there.
Few years. It took a few years and just felt so good. It was
Yeah.
like, yeah, all the hard work. People are very they're like, oh, I could never do that, and
Yeah.
it's great to have all that willpower. And as you know, you go, there can also be a lot of people that are kind of negative around you, going,
The naysayers.
the naysayers, yeah. And but it just kind of all came together, and for some reason, even with that brief time I was on stage this last time, it's just like, you think all this, like 4 or 6 months that you get ready for a show, it all comes together. But the pro card, I think, just because
I'm going to read that bio.
I had to win the Canadians 3 times before I got my pro card. It's not the case so much anymore for a lot of people now. I think
Sylvia is.
It's just, I you know I just wanted it so badly, and then the fact that it's like I did it. No one did that. I did that. That's something I did on my own. And it was very strange because my husband's been at almost all of the shows, as you know.
Yeah.
And that particular show, he was in Prague, and he was on the phone with my coach trying to figure out how I was doing. And so, my family was gone, my parents, all that stuff. And so I was pretty much there, other than a couple of clients that came to watch me. I was pretty much there on my own, and I sort of got my pro card, and I went to the car to put some stuff away, and I just walked around in the parking lot, and I was kind of like almost in shock, but I was like, the whole time I was walking, I was just beaming. I was just like, I got my pro card. I did it. So it's a very, very, yeah. I mean,
and in those moments in life when you have those great achievements, like, what did you want in that moment? Like, you wanted to talk to Bruce, your husband. I think I talked to you shortly after too. Like, it's like that's when you realize like what's really important in your life too.
It's true. And it was, and the fact that, like, I think a lot of people were kind of like, oh, Bruce wasn't there, and and a lot of people, no one was there, but it wasn't about that for me. This was something, and I honestly feel that was the last best routine I ever did. Like, everything landed, everything, the timing, everything. I feel like on stage, that was my last, like, the best performance. I did some good performances since then, and I did some bad ones, but that stage performance, there was something about that day. I knew it was going to happen, and I enjoyed everything on that stage. I just loved it. And everything, I landed everything perfect, everything, all the skills that I could do. I wasn't a gymnast, so I didn't have a lot of those types of skills, but all the ones I did have all went perfect. The time, you know what that's like when you do a perfect routine and everything hits on the beat of the music. And then to win the pro card over some really stiff competition as well. So that felt good too, so I think it was just kind of like all those years. It felt good, right? You did it. And I think at that time, that was 2013, so I mean, I was almost 50 at that point, right?
So, you must be one of the oldest women to get a pro card in women's fitness, I'm sure. Like,
I think when I got my pro card, my coach, like Darren at that time, he had the oldest pro card and the youngest pro card in a different category. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's fun.
Yeah. So that's kind of a kudos to him, I guess. But no, it was really fun. Yeah, that was a good moment. There's lots of them. Just, winning the nationals, winning, Manitoba,
going to your first pro show.
Well, exactly. That's all, that stuff is so exciting, and the fact that I got to do that with you too, that was exciting. So we kept that pack. So now we have to keep this one.
Okay. Okay, Shelly, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your experience. And Sylvia is inspiration with all of us. Have a great rest of your evening. I know you got to get back to work, and see you soon. Bye, everybody.